Well, hello, and welcome back to Black Hammer Artisan. Today, I'm going to be turning wood into charcoal. If you've ever run or wanted to run a charcoal forge, you can probably guess what the key ingredient is. If you make your own, you can save yourself money on having to buy it. It's also more sustainable, and today I'm going to be making it with the best of my ability, historically accurate methods. Right, so you can see I'm doing this in kind of a sandy, gravelly spot here. You want to be careful about that. You don't want to be too close to anything you can catch on fire. Usually because you usually wind up, you don't have to stay here the whole time as long as you're not worried about catching things on fire. Yeah, so the first thing we got to do is obviously build a kiln, which is what it's called, which is just about 20 inches across circle made out of clay. I'm going to be doing it about knee height, which is, I don't know, 1.5 feet, 2 feet. And you'll see where we go from there. Also, this is going to be a very messy process the whole time. So I found this clay in my local area, and you can probably also find clay in your local area. I found this in a hillside and dug it out. I'm having to mix this stuff with water because it was dry as a bone. These pieces of wood here are going to be where the air gates are coming in. That's what we call them, air gates. Yeah, so they'll get removed, but just using them to keep up the clay while I'm putting it in place. So frequently in medieval historical examples, they use clay and bricks, or just clay, or sometimes just bricks. It really depends. So here I'm just going to be kind of using some clay, some bricks, because I'm kind of short on clay and I'm kind of short on bricks. Right, so what's going on? I have got this thing full height. I don't see any significant cracks, but I'm sure they're there. So what I'm now going to do is build a small fire in here, leave it for a while, let all the clay dry, and then I'll come back and mud over it to eliminate all the cracks. And the reason why it's important that all the cracks are gone is if you have cracks that are letting air in, the fire needs air to burn. So naturally, when you want it to stop burning and just let itself cool down and become charcoal, you seal it up. But if there's cracks, air still gets in, keeps on burning, and you have ash instead of charcoal. So, I'm just going to leave this burning for the next, I don't know, couple hours probably, and yeah, go milk the cows. The fire's burned down now, it's hardened, it's actually the next day. We pulled out the wooden air gate holder upper things that we were using, and now what we're going to do is just cover the whole thing, or at least try, in mud to try and stop any serious air leaks from letting too much air in. It's kind of difficult, tricky in trying to get the balance between, you put it on too thick because this is just mud, this is not clay. It just kind of falls off. Put it on too thin and it doesn't cover the area. Right, so now that we have our little sacrifice altar thing looking made, and it's all sealed, it's time to actually load it up and put the lid on, fire it. I put 2 pieces down there, kind of like dunnage, to make sure the air can get underneath it. And then basically past that point, I want to stack it pretty tightly. So I want to make sure there's not too much airspace in there after this point. Basically the idea is to pack as many in as densely as possible. I'm going to be using some of these kind of kindling small pieces to kind of fill up the cracks, and then I'm going to dome it here, kind of dome the wood, and then cover that in mud with a hole in the top. So it's important, as I'm figuring out here, to make sure that your consistency is pretty thick, not too liquidy. The reason is just simply, if it's too liquidy, it sinks down in there and you don't have a lid. So it should be all ready to go, you know, light up, and hopefully everything works out. So you can see the fire's going, just started. It's gonna burn its way from the top to the bottom. When we can see it in the bottom through these holes, that's when we want to shut the bottom holes, and then I'm gonna wait approximately 2 to 2.5 hours after that before I seal this hole up. So I'm blocking up the airways now because, as you can see, the fire has reached the bottom. So I'm blocking up the last hole here. As you can see a minute ago, there was flames coming out. They're getting up to here or so. Blocked up all the air vents, no flames. Now, there is still a little bit of fire inside, but you can see I've effectively cut off the airflow around, and I'm gonna wait for approximately 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and then I'll block the top air vent. And after I block this up, which I'll probably do off camera, it'll smolder out overnight, and I'll come back in the morning and we should have good forged charcoal. Right, so it's now the next morning. There is still some amount of smoke coming off of this, which is worrying me that there might have been some leaks. So hopefully everything's all right inside. We will find out. So on the whole, I think that works pretty great. Next time I'd probably let it burn for just a little bit longer before stopping up the top hole, because I shut it a little early. I was afraid it might have been burning too much, but yeah, I'd leave it a little more next time. But yeah, you can see there's a few pieces on the top, but the rest of it's going to be really good, usable charcoal. The good thing is I can use this kiln again and again, which means I can perfect the craft of making the charcoal here. So yeah, hope you found that informative, useful, and until next time, farewell wherever you fare.